What's the vibe, y'all? Welcome to another episode of Running Off the Screen. I'm the man they call Mac, and we are 4 games into this marathon of a season. And one thing I wanted to keep a close eye on in the first 10 games or so is how much our versatility on defense would make up for our redundancy on offense. And I feel around 10 games is when I'll start throwing some deep analysis on the status of our roster's effectiveness. But for now, let's all just vent and rant about early season moments. The season we're in is chapter 2 of this retool, and we're in a year that will clarify a ton of questions, mainly about how our bench will be utilized, minute distribution, scoring options, if staggered with the starters or not. And you could argue, more importantly, whether this experiment is sustainable and worth another season of development. Now, the balance between the scaling of versatile defense versus a redundant offense is a central focal point for our concerns heading through the season. Now, it's going to be a very long roller coaster season. However, early on, we have been presented with the gift and the curse of having a roster built primarily of forwards and wings who are poor at shot selection, and I guess you can add shot quality. Because as it stands, 4 games in, the Raptors are 28th in bench points per game, and we are 27th in overall points per game. And I understand matchups play into this, especially this early, but I look at who we faced, and Brooklyn, they gave up 130 points to the Pelicans and 134 points to the Grizzlies. Miami gave up 116 to the Bulls and 111 to the Celtics. So the opportunities are there to put up points with proper execution. It's not like our opponents are just locking down the entire league. In that first half, in game 1 against the Cavaliers, it felt like we were very predictable to defend, and that, along with a couple other subtle factors, led to us shooting 39% from the field, while the Cavs shot 51% from the field, with Darius Garland being the only player with more than one shot attempt to shoot under 50% in that half. Now, the second half comes along, and we were able to put together more efficient looks, and from all over the court, I should say, and especially from the three-point line. And that fourth quarter specifically was an absolute masterclass of team defense, versatile, high IQ sequences, and just hitting timely shot after timely shot. And with that said, Fred VanVleet didn't even take a shot in that fourth quarter. And we just bullied our way into making the Cavs not hit any home run or game-changing shots, pushing them into situations where they couldn't really attack us. And that's one thing I really admire early on about this team: the passion, enthusiasm, and the energy we play on defense. It's as if we have more fun on that end of the court than in a half-court offensive set. Against the Brooklyn Nets, I was very interested in seeing how impactful Ben Simmons would be guarding up and down positionally, and he's a player that a couple of years ago was considered a top 5 defender in the NBA. And if the Raptors team will be successful this season, they will need to run over teams that are built to guard their strengths, just by imposing our will, being very smart and calculated. And Ben Simmons was very disruptive in that second half, and the Raptors didn't have the closers or the type of closers the Brooklyn Nets possess. Now, Pascal can be built into that consistent closer role, but teams are just walling up the paint, and others around him haven't done enough to, or may not be capable of, bringing home games and wins when the original game plan, fails. Now, something that stood out to me in that Brooklyn game for Pascal is he needs to be more attached to his post-ups just until he's ready to commit to a shot or pass. It just lessens the opportunity of a defender overreacting to contact and just selling an offensive foul as Royce O'Neal did to him. And versus Miami, round one, ball movement and defense early on looked great, but that fizzled away pretty quick. The shot selection just remained questionable. Too many contested shot attempts early in the clock, even if that's something that you work on in practice. And players feel they're prepared for any moment on the court because they put in the work, I guess. But we all know game speed, fatigue, intensity are difficult to simulate in a practice gym. And with that said, you need to have the awareness to know it's essential to value every possession on the court, every single possession. And Gary Trent Jr. is the first name that pops up in my head when I think about that statement. I don't want to single out Gary Trent Jr. on this because the Raptors, as we all know, have many more enigmas on this roster. This is probably why the fan base has countless extremist views from game to game on each player not named Pascal. And with Pascal in mind, going back to the Miami Heat game, round 2, he played extremely well, but teams have been figuring out his timing on his post-ups, bringing help and sort of building a box around him when he tries to attack the front of the rim and the restricted area, causing him to rush and again allow the defense to sell and draw the offensive fouls. Nonetheless, we won the game and it came down to our defense. Precious's hustle and Pascal's timely jumper, yes, but still, the defense carried us to both our victories this season. And bringing back up the enigmas, OG had one of my favorite defensive plays of the night, which led to a fast break dunk by Achua, and it seemed to spark us to slowly regaining the lead and carrying home the win. However, OG's usage rate has me a bit worried. He currently has the lowest usage out of the starters, and he has a lower usage rate than Precious Achua at 15%. Now Gary's at 19%, Precious is at 18.8%, and Scotty was at 26%. If you are who you think you are, who fans hope you can blossom into, and I'm talking about OG here, you need to call your own number and prove your worth. Offensively, the defense has been incredible, but if you want an expanded role, you need to show your expanded game. There were moments in the second game against Miami where I forgot he was on the court. This is concerning, largely on the offensive end. And Scotty Barnes, with Scotty Barnes out the way, you would think his usage would get a little higher and his output would be automatic. Now, will this team develop throughout the season and provide consistent functional offense? One that's clean and surgical? I don't know. But please let me know what you guys think. And also comment on your takeaways from the first 4 games of the season. And are you panicking yet? Or just waiting to see how things play out when Otto Porter Jr. comes back in the mix? Until next time, please remember to like, subscribe, and raise the vibe. Peace.